Hello everybody, my name is Joe Hart. I'm doing a product review for the Gear S3. It's a pretty nice little device. It's the follow-up to the Gear S2. As far as battery life goes, the Gear S3 works really well. It is stronger than what the Gear S2 was. The test I did on it, I timed how long it would last for me. So a full 24 hours of use. That was even using the watch for a phone call. I had 15% left on the battery, so a little bit to spare, and it worked well. That fits into my lifestyle, fits into my use case. The only time I can see that not fitting is if I go camping or do something outdoors like that for an extended period of time where I'm going to be away from a power source. In that event, I can actually put it in power save mode where I'm going to lose some features, but it still would work and as a timepiece. So, take that as you will. And mileage may vary depending on the amount of notifications that you get. That was one of the first things I did, was cut back all the notifications that I had coming to it, because I found that was chewing the battery up real bad. But once I got it narrowed down to a set that was not overbearing and not annoying, I was able to get that amount of time out of it. As far as the size goes, the Gear S3 is much larger than the S2, but it does feel comfortable. It fits well on my wrist. I'm a larger person, bigger guy, so even though it's a bigger watch, it looks appropriate on myself. However, if it was somebody with a small wrist, I could see it being kind of problematic. It is rather large. On the plus side of that, it's easier to punch in your PIN code that you have to have for Samsung Pay, and it's also easier to see the messages that come across, whether it be a text message or an email or some other notification from an app that you have installed on your phone. The bezel, you'll notice right here, is a great carryover from what the S2 had. You can see it's got those little ridges on it. A little bit, it's a lot easier to turn when using the watch. It allows you to turn the watch even if your hands are sweaty or dried out. One thing I noticed that was a problem that I had with the Gear S2 was when I go to turn the dial on the watch and use that feature, my fingers would slip, or if they were dried out, and when it's cold outside, I couldn't get any traction. So I'd have to lick my finger or something like that to get traction on the wheel so it would actually spin. That was because it was a smooth bezel. But with this one, having the rounded, jagged edge, it's a little bit more texture to it. It allows you to turn that bezel much easier. One other thing I had with the face or the display of the watch right when I first got it was I noticed that there was a dead spot. It's right up here in the blue next to the 12. It's kind of hard to see from this. It was kind of irritating on that watch face, but it wasn't a watch face that I used. However, if it was a watch face that I used, it would be something that would be rather irritating because you got this red dot just staring back at you. Like I said, in my case, it wasn't a big deal. Did in fact contact Samsung about the dead pixel. They were totally cool with it. They said, hey, we're going to send you a UPS label, just send it back to us, we'll repair or send you another one. Once my review's over, I'll actually go through that process and see how that breaks down. I'll follow up with you in the comments below once I have a conclusion to that whole situation, but we'll see. Fitness tracker on this thing is really awesome. It's not much different than any other device. However, being that it is a watch and a smart device or an extension of your phone, it's pretty nice that it's able to pack all those features as well. It ties in with Samsung S Health very well. It tracks your sleep, tracks your steps, gives you motivation throughout the day. If you're too sedentary, it'll prompt you to get up. It'll even prompt you to do a stretch, and it'll measure the stretch that you do. The stretch that it has you do is you just put your hands out like so, and you twist back and forth 5 times. It'll count the amount of times that you do it, and when you do it, it says, good job, now you can get back to sitting on your butt. Another thing with the fitness, I walk when I walk the dog. I walk, try to walk by myself if I can. It's a nice thing I get out and do. It's a little bit of exercise I get to do when I am able to get it in. Going on walks, you tell it you're going to go for a walk. It starts out with a mile is what its standard setting is that it's going to set for a goal. When you get to the half mile mark, it gives you a congratulatory, hey, you're halfway there, just to let you know how far you've made it. And then when you complete the mile, it gives you a review or kind of an overlook of how you did, how fast the mile went, how far you traveled, and the speed with which you traveled and your heart rate during that time. Now, I generally go about 1.5 miles. I haven't upped the goal to be 1.5 miles, but generally go about 1.5 miles. It continues to track the walk past the goal, which I thought was nice. It doesn't give you any audible feedback on it after you've stopped, but it does give you all the data that you have from doing the steps and your heart rate and the speed with which you traverse that distance. As a smartwatch, the Gear S3 does a lot of cool things. You're able to talk on it via Bluetooth to your phone. You're also able to text and receive email messages and Facebook notifications and many other notifications. Regarding the texting, you've got a couple different ways that you can respond to people. One of those is going to be the T9 type. Tap, tap, tap until you get the characters that you're looking for and go through that painful process. Or you can draw out the characters, which it actually recognizes. No matter how crappy your finger tracing is, it'll still recognize what characters you're trying to type, and it'll type it out. There's also a dictation option where you can talk to the watch and it will capture what you're saying and convert it to text, or you can send the voice file. The biggest drawback there is there's a little bit of lag that I've noticed when sending the text. I didn't notice that lag as much with my Gear S2, and I don't know if that's because my Gear S2 was an LTE model that was able to send over the air and there's some kind of Bluetooth lag going on, or why that's occurring, but there was some lag, and that was kind of frustrating because you'd start going through the process and it would just hang. You didn't know what was going on, the watch wouldn't respond, it just sat there, which was kind of irritating. On the screen responsiveness, there's a fellow YouTuber out there that did a test with gloves. He was able to turn the sensitivity up on the watch so that he could use gloves to interact with the watch, which is really handy in cold environments when you're out either skiing or hiking, whether, no matter what reason you have gloves on. You can turn the sensitivity up and still actually use the device. That has been a pain point for me in the past, not being able to use a device because I had to pull my glove off, hold it under my arm, then do whatever I wanted to do, and then put the gloves back on. So during that time, my hand was freezing. Whereas with this, you can use the glove and it'll get you by. It's not a perfect scenario because your gloves are always really padded and that kind of thing, but it will work. Samsung Pay on this device, on the Gear S3, works leaps and bounds better than what the Gear S2 did. The Gear S2, many of the places that I tried to use it didn't work out so well. I would hold up the watch and just nothing would happen. I thought that maybe I couldn't find the NFC, then I'd pull up my phone and do the Samsung Pay and it worked just fine. So I was able to determine that it was in fact the watch that was the problem, not user error. Conversely to that, when I use the Gear S3, same stores, same environments, activate the Samsung Pay, hold it up, boom, works, I'm gone. It works like Samsung Pay is supposed to. There's no holding up the line like you're the person up there writing a checkout. There's no standing in line feeling embarrassed that you're taking forever to use something that's supposed to make it faster. I was even able to use the Samsung Pay at my ATM. It was really, I saw the NFC at the ATM and I thought, I wonder if this will work. So as I was pulling up, I hit the Samsung Pay on my watch and held it up to the ATM, and sure enough, gave it a couple seconds and it actually activated. One of the features that I liked on the stock watch face was the chronometer, or time watch, stopwatch, whatever you want to call it. This is something I used fairly frequently, and you're able to time stuff and time it fairly easily. And you can time it and you can hit stop, which is the little red button, and it'll stop. And then if you want to start again, you can start again. You can create laps, but works really well. And then when you're done, you just hit the X and it resets back and goes back to the top, much like a regular watch. This is a cool little feature, and if you do a little research on what a chronometer is going to do for you and things that you can use it for, one thing you can do is to test your speedometer on your car. So let's say you had different size tires put on, you want to make sure that you're going actually what it says you're going. You can use that, and it'll actually hit the mile markers when you do it, and it'll tell you how fast you're going. Got to do a little bit of math, but that's a nice little thing that a lot of people don't know about. Well, that's about all I've got for the Gear S3. Could go way more in depth. There's a ton of other things that you can do with it, but as far as my use case over the month that I've used it, these are the things that I found that were handy for me and that I use on a regular basis, and these were my thoughts about them. Hope to see you guys here again soon. I'll be having more reviews come up in the near future as soon as I have some other devices to test. Look forward to having you guys subscribe and give me a thumbs up. If you liked my review, please give me a thumbs up. If you have some input, please make it constructive. Just looking to learn what to do better. Always looking to learn from others out there in the that are shooting video or have any input. So please do leave comments in the section down below. Subscribe to the channel and give me feedback, 'cause that's what I work off of. Thanks. Look forward to seeing you again. Hope you have fun with your devices.